Welcome to Source Medicine. My name is Nikolay Ayerov, quantum security specialist and founder of outpace.
And I'm Anita, medical herbalist, biomedical scientist, intuitive healer, and frequency medicine practitioner. Together, we explore what it means to remember that healing doesn't start with fixing something broken, but with listening to what is already whole.
Each week, we'll travel between the seen and the unseen, from ancient herbal wisdom, nutrition, and nervous system science, to energy work, polarity, and the quiet intelligence that moves through all of us.
Our conversations aren't prescriptions, they are invitations. We are not here to tell you what's true, but to help you feel truth in your own body.
So wherever you are, walking, driving, taking a rest, let it remind you that you are part of the medicine.
This is Source Medicine. Success. Success is the word we hear every day. It's some kind chased, measured, compared. But really, and rarely is truly felt, because success is, to my opinion, nothing fixed. It's not a one destination. It's something alive and something that may shift as we shift. For one person, success may mean building a career, creating financial stability, and statistically, this is what many people associate success with. They associate success with financial security, with career achievements, with social status, and of course with productivity and the result. From outside, it may look very clear, it looks very structured and it's measurable, but inside it's more or can be more like a human experience because it's very personal. So a child can feel successful winning a game at school. An adult may feel successful paying bills. Person who is sick may feel successful having symptom-free day. And all of them, to my opinion, are very equal. My question to you would be how you define success, what this means to you, and how the definition of success has changed for you over time.
Wonderful, wonderful topic, and I'm very excited we finally got to this this point, because we spoke off camera many times around this topic, and success is this thing that's so ingrained into society. Everyone is chasing the status of it, the luxury mindset of the fancy cars, the attention, the potential power that you have from having many people looking at you, how you can attract partners into your life because of this success, especially on the male or the female side. Success is this, I would almost even say, monster to some degree, because it's essentially something that people achieve it, and typically you can only understand this and by looking at, let's just say, the Hollywood stars, right? I used like Justin Bieber as a great example. He was like something 19 years old. He went from teenager all the way up into his early adulthood, and this kid still at the time had somewhere of like $90 million in his name. He could do anything and everything you can possibly imagine. But at the same time, he also saw, his journey was very turbulent. He was always getting into trouble. He was, there was a no fulfillment that was really happening within his life, even though in the success terms, he was experiencing everything you could possibly dream of and imagine, from the cars to the attention. You have thousands of young women, drooling basically over you. You have endless amounts of money. You have potential, all the freedoms that you believe all of that can provide. But at the same time, all of this story repeats itself over and over again. Is people find the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. There's always the next bridge to success, to where, okay, I want to make $100,000. Then I want to make 1 million. Then I want to make 10 million. Then I want to make 100. Now, what does a billionaire feel like? Well, so there's always the next thing. And then every time someone gets to that place, it's great in the moment, but then there's a hollowness to it because success is not necessarily the physical thing that we want. And this is going to be tying back to the core principle of what the human experience is all about. And the human experience is all about the emotion behind the thing. When we want money or a thing, there's typically a feeling attached to that thing. And that is what we actually want. And it's just the physical thing helps the feeling that you believe you need that thing to feel that feeling. And that's where that's where the danger comes from, where there's a hollowness, because when you get the thing, you will feel that emotion momentarily, but then there'll be an emptiness. Go ahead.
Very common with people who are drawn to shopping.
Yeah.
They buy expensive stuff at expensive items, which give them happiness for a short period of time. And it's an illusion of the happiness. Yeah. And again, the hormones drop, the dopamine drops, the serotonin drops, they go to shop again and they buy and buy and buy and they gather the things. But again, as you say, it's very dangerous.
Every good topic always starts with a solid definition, because if we can define the terms, we can then extrapolate, let's just say, the bigger picture. So what does success actually mean, right? We've already described what physical success might look like, but what does success look like in all of the branches? It's the same like using the word abundance. Abundance doesn't just mean money. Abundance means love. It means health. It means all the things that bring moreness into your life, overflow. So it's the same thing with success. Success is essentially abundance. Success is essentially how close am I to truth on a deeper level. What on a soul level, if we're going all the way out, success would be you have a specific lesson to learn. You've chosen a set of lessons to learn. Success would be to learn those lessons at time frame that you have co-created in the linear reality of time and space, and achieve that and feel the joy of that success or the completion of those lessons. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's all the soul cares about. The soul doesn't care about how much money you have. The soul doesn't care about any of this. If your soul, let's just say on a deeper level, says, I want $1 billion in this life, I want to be a billionaire. It's not saying I want to have 10, 12 figures in my bank account. It's saying, what kind of person can I become when I have this? How does it feel to hold that kind of energy and that kind of influence? This is where we can start even talking about the millionaire and the billionaire, because there's a deep the energetic divide between what a millionaire looks like and a billionaire, right? Is the same thing where a millionaire and someone who's making less than, let's say, 6 figures, very similar patterns, but even the millionaire and the billionaire is actually even bigger of a divide, that if you were just to try to compartmentalize it mentally. Success truly is, how sovereign are you? Do you need anything from the outside world to make you feel whole? Because if you need anything outside of you to make you feel like yourself, you're automatically dependent on that stimulus, be it a house, be it a car, be it a partner, be it recognition, be it power, be it anything you can think of, a tangible or intangible concept. If any part of you feels it needs that to feel whole and worthy and completed within you, success is still out of reach. It's the same thing as if you're always in lack, it's very difficult to be in abundance. So if you're in a codependence of the external, it's very difficult to be in sovereignty. That's, I would say, the most zoomed out approach if you were to look at the full picture. On a more tangible, practical understanding is how peaceful are you in your life? How joyful can you experience the day-to-day moments? How present are you in your life when you have responsibilities, when you have kids running around, when you have, responsibilities with your business, left and right, or your job, or anything that's happening in your day-to-day life? Most people that have, let's just say, 12 figures in their account or 5 figures, or is very like in a few $100s, all the ranges. The money is a very easy metric that most people say, this is what I'm worth and this is how valuable I am. But that's basically just saying, hey, without these numbers, I mean less. I am less than myself. And it is functional, but it's not stable. To understand success would be to understand emotional states. I would argue anybody listening to this that is well into the 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12 figure ranges would give that up for peace, for stability, and for everything that money has brought them, to feel that truly inside of them, because that is true wealth at the end of the day. And it's a big statement to make, but when money doesn't matter to you anymore, you really start understanding what actually starts mattering. And when there's a whole empire and a whole built, like a whole life that was built on one very specific, potentially unstable topic of, I need to prove myself to the world somehow. I need to provide something of such value that says that I belong in this world. And all of the most successful people have, to some degree, played into building incredible structures on fairly energetically shaky ground, to where a lot of their selves is outsourced. It could be logistically looks pretty good, like the business is running more or less on itself, but at the same time there's a lot of strings and things in their life that's pulling at them left and right. And even in the lower brackets of the employment markets and the even higher brackets in the leadership markets of the founders and the CEOs, they're just starting. Success is not metrics of the bottom line. Success is how stable are you when those metrics go up and down. Because in life, you will always have an up and down. But if you're going up and down with those metrics, you are dependent on the metrics. If your bank account goes up and down and you stay centered, I consider that success. I consider that the definition of stability. Not that you have 30K coming in a month, 100K, a million coming in a month. Yeah, that's metric success, the physical success, but how stable is that flow coming in, not just in the pipeline, but in your emotional states? Are you burning out? Are you emotionally overreaching? Are you completely alone? You're not being able to voice anything. And because when you can't voice something, especially in the founder levels, you feel very alone and very isolated. And all of that starts bottling up inside. And eventually it will have to have, the energy has to have an outlet somewhere. And unfortunately, that outlet can be some form of ailment,
Illness.
some form of chronic disease,
Mm.
some form of something that needs to be expressed. Because emotions is just the equation energy in motion. So if we don't look at that component of success, it's very difficult to truly attain it.
What
Yeah.
success means, it's and when it's related to health, yes, and I can rely on that, and I would like to share something because for me, for really long periods of time, success meant achievements. So I gathered diplomas, I published scientific articles, so I felt I'm recognized and kind of appreciated for my knowledge and for my effort, what I was putting into my work. That time they mattered for me, they shaped me, and they built something in my life. But of course, life refines what really truly matters. And for me, that moment was when I exactly got sick. And I was full of symptoms for quite a long period of time, for several years. And I remember that success for me meant symptom-free day. I remember the moment when I realized that all this diploma, all these achievements, what I got before, they really do not matter because my body feels great that particular day and I can go for a walk, I can do something more physically. Then I kind of locked that symptom-free day is success. And I really got stuck into it. Is it really a success, a symptom-free day? I really pictured that I should be totally symptom-free and then I will be happy. This is impossible because we have symptoms every day, always there is something, some mind ache,
Yeah.
you feel some twist in some part of the body. So we cannot be numb. And this is what I created in my head. I should be numb. So that means that I achieved success in my health. And that, of course, created pressure doing the healing journey. Then I understood
Yes.
that actually, the more you go deeper and deeper, and you start to understand that symptoms are not there to punish you, they actually are a language of your soul. And the moment you start to go inwards and the moment you start to understand what that particular pain, let's say in the knee or in the, in the belly means from a deeper level, and you start to address that. And by addressing that, you start to feel improvement. That is for me a success at this particular time of my life. Success for me means that you are able to listen to your body, or actually to your soul, telling to you through your body, and address this at the much deeper level because you know how to do it. And if you don't know how to do it, there are people who can support you with that. And if you're on that journey, there's many books on that topics as well. Something what I also notice with my clients. I had a client a few years ago. It was a lady bound to the bed and she had kids. She couldn't even make a meal for own kids for like 2 years. And I remember we started to work together. And after 3 months, she stood up from the bed, actually called me and said, Anita, I just cooked a meal for my kids after 2 years. You don't know how it feels. And we both were crying. It was such a overflow of a joy. So from that particular moment, it was a success for me because I helped that person, and success for her because she stood up. The more we went on this journey, and of course there were like waves, like always. Even with my own health, I know there were always waves. She was losing the feeling of the success, and I was losing as well. When I was sick, symptoms were coming. So this is something related to what you just said, that success is nothing just that you feel when you are able to maintain that feeling. There were different times in my life, and I felt that I achieved inner success, meaning my inner happiness, because for me, happiness and success is like almost equal. And there was a moment when I own almost nothing. I had almost zero on my bank account. I had few clothes, few books, and still I felt as one of the most happiest person, the most happier since ever I could remember. And that told me that the success does not depend on external, or it should not. And I would really hope that everybody who listens to us will be able to achieve that feeling of a happiness and not link that to another items or another person, to partner, to own kids. We usually search for that happiness in other people. And is also a big topic in relationships. You have to be yourself, full, successful with yourself, with your inner world, to be able to enter a relation that can last.
There's many things you just mentioned, and let's break them down a little bit, because I want to touch base on each and every one of these. So, for example, we can start with like wealth, right? Because there's a description of what's the difference between a rich person and a wealthy person, right? Typically, there's many videos online where the rich person is seemingly arrogant, and the wealthy person is much more cordial, right, and much more direct. This also brings back into the definition of success. What does it actually mean to be wealthy, right? Is wealth measured by your assets, or is wealth measured by your state? If you're measuring wealth by assets, then obviously you're going to have to look at your tax returns. What kind of car do you drive? What kind of house do you live in? What kind of vacations do you go on? What is what your investments look like? What does your legacy essentially that you're building? What does that look like materially? That's, for most people, how they see their value on this world. Now, wealth is an intangible feeling of peace regardless of the assets. And when you have that peace, that stability, that groundedness, and that calmness, that creates a foundational platform for the assets now to sit on top of, without the assets sitting on top of you. And this actually is what creates, I believe, generational wealth. When you build from a place of an internal peace, everything about your life becomes much more effortless. And this is a very new topic for most people. And this is also not, exclusive to those that have already built. I mean, non-available to those have built, let's just say, empires on unstable nervous systems. What's happening is, when you start from peace, a lot of times, like you were mentioning, and I can even mention my own journey. In the last 5 years, I every single year, you look back and you say, what have I done in this year? How do I feel in this year? Have I set my goals? Have I hit my targets? Have all these things? And I remember the first 3 to 5 years of that. Yeah, 3 to 5 years, because we're now in the sixth year. Every single year, it seemed like it seemed like my life, as I was always traveling, I was always exploring everything around me. So I was living a fairly, like you can say, abundant life. And in the sense that I had incredible experiences, I was always experiencing different places. I wasn't stuck in one specific area, doing 9 to 5 stuff. But at the same time, I was having just enough to get by. Basically just enough to cover enough expenses so that all my survival needs are met. Every year that I looked back at myself, I felt and I operated differently internally. So regardless of how little, let's just say, physical growth on my, let's say, bank statements changed, the internal stabilization was always drastic. I could never recognize myself the year later. So for me, I started measuring success in how I felt and how I showed up, and not just my relationships, and not just in my business, and not just my clients. Every single year, I started interacting with myself differently. And people obviously noticed a big change, but depending on their operating system of how they measured success, they would either add a judgment to the lack of perceived growth or the abundance. There is a price to pay to building something immediately, because you can, and many people have created, aligned to beautiful relationships in the very beginning, built businesses that have become very financially successful, and had many things really start going well for them in the physical world. But it was operating on a borrowed nervous system, meaning eventually that borrowing from your nervous system has recurring debt that you're accruing. And this is a very, very interesting topic for me, because so far I have not heard this very often. And basically, what this basically says is, when you borrow from your nervous system, you will have to pay it back. World, like when that beautiful relationship you got into that was fireworks from the very beginning, and it seemed like the perfect, starts having troubles, starts, going through challenges, potentially even goes into the breakup stage. And there's a whole bunch of emotions around that, because the foundation you borrowed, a potential, like you build something from unstable nervous system that said, yeah, we can do this for a short time, but we're going to have to stabilize later. And stabilizing later can look like collapse. So let's say you, in the financial world, you went from making three grand a month to making 35, 50 grand a month. Huge spike. That's a massive success for most people. Holy crap, you did so well. How did you scale so fast? But then the debt of that is, I don't have enough time for myself. I'm exhausted. I don't have I can't keep up with this. Something has to change, right? And that can look like burnout. That can look at drop in quality of, focus, clarity of being, providing that same service, or having uncomfortable situations where people are wanting, let's just say, basically wanting to take advantage of you in some way or form. In all of these forms and shapes, this is what borrowing essentially from your nervous system and having quick success could look like.
If you think of statistics from your own experience with even your clients, how does it look like? How often you see the same, let's say, pattern?
There's a big pattern, especially with men coming into my life, that have built a very successful practice, be it starting their own business, or having a very stable career that they have built up, and have hold quite a bit of responsibility, have started a family. So obviously they have a family now to raise, kids to take care of. They have all the responsibilities that come with that now, because when you build something up and now it needs constant sustaining, this is where it gets a little trickier with having to pay back sometimes. And that can look like the universe, should I say, or balance in this world will, when the nervous system reaches a very specific capacity where it can no longer keep the same level of charge that it took to build something and to sustain it, it will have to turned down a little bit. It's just think of it like a fuse, right? In an electrical system. When there's too much charge going into a specific outlet, there's a fuse specifically there to protect the system from burning out, from frying, right? So that when a fuse blows, it disconnects it disconnects the charge from getting into critical components, right? And that can look like your body protecting you from a heart attack, your body protecting you from some form of cancers, or these events, a heart attack, cancer forming, some kind of potential physical accident, a car crash. This is all a slowing down period where someone has not chosen to slow down themselves. And it could be, depending on the severity of how long they have pushed, depends on basically the how loud the signal will have to be for them to listen. As you will always get light whispers for year after year after year, and the whispers become a normal voice. Then it becomes slightly a yell, and the longer it takes for you to actually hear, the louder the yell, or the volume, should I say, starts. The louder the volume starts raising, the more severe to get your attention. Sometimes it could be like a broken leg to where you can't push any longer. Eventually, something will happen where it will stop you from pushing. And ideally, when people come to me, that is essentially an intervention that says, do you want to go down the road of continued pushing and self-abandonment? Or do you want to choose yourself for once? And once you choose yourself in that moment, that's when you have a lot of opportunity to pay back that borrowed nervous system energy and potentially save quite a bit of physical suffering that goes through that more abrupt shift. All of this is not a doom and gloom sign. This is basically just saying, hey, what you're listening to, and if you're listening to this, and if this resonates with you, and like you feel this in your chest or your gut is like squeezing right now, this is just grace in motion. Grace is basically a form that says, hey, it doesn't have to be this way. And there's an easier way to do this. And without contained structure of how things can be different, it's incredibly difficult to retrain yourself into the different because you've trained yourself into understanding and navigating how you navigated and have got it has gotten you as far as it did. But now at a certain point, there is a necessity to let go of what was for what is to come in. So that means a lot of unlearning has to happen because certain frameworks can only get you to certain points. And then those frameworks need to collapse for new frameworks to be built. And that can be, you can say, a harrowing process. Humans depend on instruction for the most part to function. And this is where the compassion, let's say, for the older generation comes in, where especially with our parents, most of us can be frustrated with them because it's very easy to be like, they should know better. They should do this. They should have raised me better. They should have done something different. They should know all of these things. But realistically speaking, how could have they have known better, right? What within what structure did they have at that time with this podcast like these prevalent, 50, 30, 30 to 50 years ago? Was information even available to them to even have any realistic understanding of how to do things differently? Or did they just operate on a system in the best possible way that they could. This comes
Abs-
for anybody because when you don't know, you can't know. So new structures need to be developed and guided for things to change. Otherwise, you just follow the same blueprint. It doesn't mean you're ignorant. It just means there's not proper leadership or informational structures that are conducive to moving you forward in a specific direction. And this helps myself and many of my clients find much deeper compassion, not only for themselves, but for those around them, especially that are stuck in very challenging patterns of how things worked, how the old success systems operated.
I also feel that the modern world created the definition of success, which is very stressful to people. It creates
Yeah,
huge amount of internal pressure. If that pressure is not discharged, it creates another level of pressure. And so it just builds and builds to the point that the nervous system is dysregulated. As we were talking in our last podcast, like the sympathetic nervous system takes the power, and that creates another level of problems, but mostly health problems. That creates another level of stress, and the loop is just going and going. And the point is, like, you have to find that moment or place actually where you can cut that cycle and start over again, start to rebuild yourself. I get clients who have health issues. Yes, that's what I'm doing. And what I see, unfortunately, is that people are coming to me, and when they see that they have to do work, they may try something. Of course, they try some, exercises, they try a diet, they try herbs, but that's really short term. Because again, the modern world created a picture that getting healthy, it must come like overnight, and that would mean success. If you just take a pill and the next day you wake up without a
yeah.
headache,
Instant
with
gratification.
working belly, you can perform again at work or in your private life. I feel that the information we are receiving, even from social media or from, let's say, news, create this kind of pressure in us that we have to do everything fast and now. So we have to get into relation fast. It has to be fantastic. It has to, give me
Yeah.
butterflies. And that's my success. With health, yeah, I will swallow that pill. Tomorrow I will be better. So I think for everybody, that would be really important to just sit down and really think what the success means to you personally, what people could do to turn from the external world to the internal world, to start to understand what's the inner success and how to achieve that success. What are the good tips you could have?
The best thing I can understand, or I have personally experienced through with my own life and through my clients and those around me, is this is not a quick fix type of journey. This is about going to the gym and putting in the reps, right? You go, and when you go first to the gym, you've never lifted a weight, so everything feels hard, everything is difficult, and then the next day you're sore and you're in pain and you're like, why did I do this? I don't want to do any of this. This is difficult. But over time you look in the mirror and you start seeing, wow, I'm seeing a little bit of, muscle definition, I'm seeing a little bit of this, I'm seeing a little bit of that. And I'm using this analogy because when you're experiencing very feeling based operations, like feeling how if for example, your anxiety went from a 9 to a 7 in one day, those small shifts is the same thing when you have a chronic disease or a chronic illness. Full remission and feeling fully healed is not entirely realistic for most people, and that the miracles are always possible, and miracles are essentially should be a daily occurrence as we believe more into them. But essentially, small increments are the best thing you can start understanding on this journey, start feeling, and physical results come afterwards.
You don't believe that full recovery or full remission is possible?
Mhm.
I do not
Yes.
agree. I would
Yeah.
like to clarify that because many
Okay.
people who have health problem probably are listening to us and they may feel hopeless. My understanding of health and whole healing problem, looking at my story and my client's story, is that when you really address everything what has to be addressed, I mean, not just diet, you don't just swallow some supplements and vitamins, and you really address yourself at all level, at the not just physical, but the emotional, spiritual level as well. The full remission is possible because also if we look at the neuroplasticity and even the placebo effect, the belief or our thoughts will create our reality. So if you say to yourself that, okay, I will never heal. Yeah, I may feel better, but I will never heal. Of course, your nervous system will do everything to prove you that you will not heal because it will send such a transmitters all over the body that you may feel pain, dysregulation, and so on and so on. But if you strongly believe that you will heal, and we know that there are millions of cases of people who didn't do any work, like they didn't take any medication, they didn't change the diet, still they healed, they maybe started to walk because they strongly believed. Look at Joe Dispenza's story. His back was totally broken. Now he's just traveling the world. He's walking, and the doctors told him that he will be bound to the wheelchair. He was just focusing on his mind, and still he managed to recover. Can you again define what you actually meant?
The goal is not immediate remission, because that most people think it's about incremental. But at the same time, I did say miracles are possible and immediate remission is possible. When we believe in miracles, every day can be a miracle. In the program of reality, miracles are supposed to be normal. So I feel that's a far more hopeful approach than was mentioned prior. I'm going through helping understand the journey a little bit better because it can be challenging for the mind, especially when you're relearning and repatterning certain things. This is about understanding how the body functions. And if you are just starting to listen to the body, and we've been speaking to basically, I feel like the underlying concept of this entire podcast is how can you truly listen to your body, right? And all of the intricacies that goes along with this. And I was just speaking to a younger man the other day, literally last night, and he asked me, "What is the most influential thing you can tell me in this moment that you've learned?" And I told him the single greatest skill that you can ever learn in this world is how to communicate with your body and your nervous system, because that is the framework that communicates with your physical reality. It's basically like if you want to access the internet on your computer, you have to figure out first how to get online, download the app that gets you online, all the stuff. And then, once you get online, you have to find a website, you have to find this. It's a whole process that you start understanding through breath. Breath is always number one. The small moments are always the wins. whenever you're having a spike or an anxiety or a relapse into a specific pattern, the most important thing he understands breath as, depending on how you breathe, it'll give your body specific signals in that moment. So it's like turning dials on your body immediately. So there's a few different breaths you can use. Number one is breathing in just a little bit and then breathing out twice as long as you're breathing in. That automatically tells your body when you breathe out longer, you're safer. Because when you're in an adrenaline state, in a sympathetic state, and your body reads sharp breath as danger, as something is happening. And you could be sitting on your couch and nothing is actually happening, but you're in a fight or flight moment. So your body says, okay, we're in danger because it does not understand anything outside of it. It just knows what is my base level looking like? What is my blood pressure? Where's my glucose at? Where's all of the functions within me at? And it's always going to try to bring it into homeostasis as much as it can. So learning those specific aspects of maybe going for a walk. I know everyone says going for a walk is great for you, but it's actually incredible. Like if you're overstimulated in your mind, going for a light walk is infinitely better sometimes even than going to the gym because it helps your body move a little bit. Breathing is incredible. When we appreciate the where in the moment where we are at, like for example, a great story is a guy in a wheelchair is looking at a guy that's walking and it's like, wow, it'd be nice to walk, right? And then the guy that's walking is looking at the guy on the bicycle. Oh, it'd be so nice to be on a bicycle, right? And then the guy on the bicycle is looking at the car. Oh, it'd be so nice to drive. And then the guy in the it'd be so nice to drive is looking at someone in a plane. Oh, wow, they're getting so much faster. So it's basically the vehicle that you're in that moment. Appreciate it because there's always going to be the next vehicle in front of you, the next way of getting somewhere, but appreciate what you have in front of you because the contrast can make it very uh, contrast helps you see perspective. I was walking, I remember, a few days ago on the street, and I was ruminating in certain thoughts in my head at that moment, and I was like, "Oh man, if I did it this way, that way," and then I walk across a lady who's hobbling, right? She looks like she's obviously in pain, and she's just walking like across, and I automatically am like, I have absolutely no pain in my body. I have nothing going on. I can walk fine. And I'm thinking about certain things. So immediately in my head, I was like, holy shit, like I actually have no issues in this moment. I have no problems. I'm just ruminating in something that doesn't matter. Because what really matters is what's in front of you. How do you feel in this moment? What's going on? Like when you were saying the story with the lady that had just cooked something meaningful in a whole long time, where we take for granted many things until they're taken away from us, right? Sometimes when we take a breath, this is easy for us, but when someone has a chronic lung condition, that's a challenge for them. So in that sense, when we're fully appreciative of the moment, of the success that we have in this moment, the next level of success opens up to us. And this is always internal and then external. Everything in the world operates on energy first, and then it manifests into physical reality. It doesn't matter how, what, where, why, what you believe, how you believe. That's a fundamental law in the universe. Everything has to go through energy first before it materializes. When you learn to start building from the energetic blueprint, the physical becomes far more simpler because most people build from the physical and they troubleshoot the physical, but the troubleshooting can potentially even be avoided by troubleshooting the energetic prior. So there's very different forms of building that is starting to be available to us through information, through different forms of teachings, and through my own personal experiences that I've built everything so far in my life, from outpace to the restaurant concept that's coming out this year to all of my coaching practices, the my 3 month containers, the sessions that I give out, all of these things have been created first on an energetic layer. And that's why when they come into the physical, everything is seamless and effortless. And it's almost self-guiding and organizing without the constant need to stress and overhead and do a whole bunch of logistics and jumping through hoops to sort everything out that might not need needs tweaking here and there. Sure, that's always going to happen regardless, but the severity matters drastically on that. I don't know if I went on a whole different tangent there, but I hope I answered something.
How to stay in that journey, to build this inner happiness and this whole energetic, let's say, structure that can later present in, physical world when there is so much pressure around us. There's constant pressure. You have to prove something. You have to perform. You have expectations from family, from friends, and so on and so on. So that's, I think, the biggest challenge for most people.
But it's also consistency. I think that was the main thing with anything. You every day you just come and you meet it, and the smallest little wins, you focus on those.
Mhm.
Even if it's a 0.1% increase or even a 5%, 1%, the small little, wow, I feel slightly better today.
Yeah,
That's a win. That's success.
yeah.
Because and then you look through all these micro wins, and a month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months, looking back, it's much easier to see, wow, a lot has happened.
Mhm.
Instead, because when you're in the moment, you're like, nothing is shifting, nothing is changing. I still feel like crap. I still this, I still that. Instead of really focusing on those small little wins. Because anytime, for example, when humans go through any difficult challenge, be it like military training or something that they really have to push through, everything is about just getting to the next thing because it helps the mind organize. Okay, if I just, if I'm going through chronic pain, the next meal, let's get to that point and then we can manage. Okay, let's get to this next checkpoint. So depending on what level of challenge you're going through, different tools and different perspectives and different ways to operate this journey, because what I want to stress is this is a journey. There's no quick fixes. There is quick realizations and quick reality shifts, which do improve your life drastically immediately sometimes. But the full spectrum repatterning that is being offered here is the journey, is the goal, is what we as a collective of humanity are working towards in a actually pretty efficient way, so, considering all the variables that we're dealing with.
With my clients, we track the symptoms just so they can see the change. Because I remember from myself, when I had like tons of symptoms, every week I did something, or every month I did something. I didn't see the change, because the change didn't happen like overnight. But when I look after 6 months, I saw, wow, I don't have headaches anymore. Wow, I'm breathing better. I'm this and that. That was my success, that particular month, to feel relief from the physical symptoms. With the inner work, it was the same. I think people pressure themselves by saying, okay, now in a week I should achieve this and that. I should feel my energy that particular way. They create actually story, even how they should feel, instead of just letting go, like trusting the process and just going with the flow. The changes are coming. They may not come fast, but again, as you said, the micro tasks, what you can do every single day, even if it's just like 5 minutes exercise per day, that's already 5 minutes for you. This is just your time. And this is actually the 5 minutes of a self-love that will help you to really understand who are you and to understand what you are here for and how actually you can enjoy this journey called life. Well, thank
Okay.
you, Nikolay,
Yeah.
for sharing a lot of your knowledge and your
Absolutely.
also experience. And
And thank you.
yeah,
I think we're a good team here, as we say.
I'm always happy to share also my journey. If that helps even one person on this planet, this is already, I feel like, mission completed, you know? So thank you, listeners. And we hope you will take your 5 minutes now. If not even for breathing exercise, you will just sit and think or reevaluate what actually success means for you. Because if you put different things in your life at some kind of scale, you really see what's really important in life. So thank you again, and see you in our next episode.
And this is Source Medicine.